All right, students, I'm just gonna go ahead and get right into it. Welcome to AEMN102 Digital Communication and Design. My name is Kirk Seale. Hope you guys had a phenomenal day. Hopefully the outages didn't get you guys out of it too much. But at least you guys were able to get this recording by the time you get it. So I'm gonna just go ahead and go through this information. All right, so go ahead and share my screen. All right, guys should be good to go from here. Let me just pull out the chat and participants just in case anyone signs on. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. All right, officially, this is your first class. The last one that you had would have been a recording. But here, I'm just going to give you a quick refresher just so those who weren't able to see the recording as yet, they would be able to. Oh, Kanisha, good to see you. Good to see you. All right, I'll actually wait until your audio is connected. But then I'm gonna go ahead with just you. Anybody else will just catch the recording. Hey,
Hi,
Kanisha.
Hi, sir.
Hey, good evening. All right, so glad that you got my email. I'm actually gonna go ahead and start teaching with just you. Anybody else will just catch the recording. We'll take this from here.
Yes, persons are having electricity issues.
All right, no problem. You get to ask all the questions, and they're going to get to hear you in the recording. Sounds good?
Okay, sure.
All right, perfect. But you were able to listen to the other recording that I had, yeah?
Yes, most of it I would have liked to take notes, but the electricity was going in and on and off, so you know.
All right, no worries. We are going to get into it. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Where did I go? All right, just confirm that you actually can see my screen.
Yes, I can see it.
All right, perfect. All right, so guys, welcome to Digital Communications and Design. It's just me right now and Kanisha, but when you get to see this recording, you get the information. All right, so let me just go ahead and get right into it. So my name is Kirk Seale. First of all, creating has been my thing for about 15 plus years. You would have heard most of this in the recording, but just in case you didn't get a chance to, as a graphic designer over the last 15, almost 20 years, my personal goal has been to erase doubt between products and the people with that they products and people with a mix of imagination, research, and smart thinking. All right, so I'm a recovering overthinker. I gotta have music, gotta have kicks, and hip hop verses that's my outlet pretty much. And one thing that I'm super excited about is seeing Caribbean folklore shine. And I'm talking about through toys, stories, comics, the whole nine. And from there, right, I'm actually teaching now. I'm a dad to a young queen, so co-parenting, emotional intelligence, all that stuff I'm into right now. But enough about me. We're going to get into this course right here. So digital communication and design. I don't know if you would have got on the website when you were looking around for a course to see what this was actually about, but Did you have any ideas, or you just going based on what you might have seen on the website?
Just what I've seen on the website.
All right, cool. So I'm gonna break this down. We got digital, and we got communication, and we have design. All right, so digital, just from looking around, I found that digital in the context of arts and entertainment management, we're looking at consumer-led and data-driven automation to create new value. All right, so consumer-led being that any of the information that you're going to be finding is going to be really focused on the end user. All right, so if you're managing an artist for the sake of this class, you will be managing an artist, and that artist is going to be a stuffed animal of some kind. Everything that you're doing is based on who that artist is interested in reaching, right? They're going to be the consumer. And data-driven automation is you just got a whole bunch of data about them, like who they are, what they like, what they're into, what kind of music do they listen to, that sort of thing. And you're going to use that to then be able to add value to them in a way that they can actually listen and they can actually appreciate. All right. So from there, we have what digital is to us, right? This is now the bridge that brings creators and admirers closer, right? We're going to be making the magic of creativity accessible. So in the creative and thrilling realm of arts and entertainment, digital is like the magic wand that transforms how we communicate and how we share our passions. From there, we got communication. What is that? So we got the process of sending and receiving messages through verbal and non-verbal means. So if you were to look at this next slide here, you have the sender of a message, this young lady here. She says, "Your food smells delicious." My guy here, he is the receiver of said message, and he says, "Thanks." All right? But then he's going to try to interpret what he's hearing. This is going to be happening all the time when we are now working with our clients, when we're communicating, whatever that means, whatever that medium and that means might be. But the end user, their interpretation, it needs to be as close as possible to what the original thing was. Right? Because some people say one thing, but they actually mean something else. So you want to be as clear as possible. All right, so effective communication is going to take a mix of a couple things. All right, you can see on the screen, but I want you to picture this, right? You're in the world of digital communication, whether it's promoting your own creative work, managing an entertainment event, or just connecting with your audience online. The first thing you're going to want to do is be attentive in your listening. All right, so when you're in a chat, on a video call, or reading comments on your social media posts, attentive listening is going to be key. It's all about really getting what people are saying. You want to understand their thoughts, their concerns, and their feedback. You want to do all of that at the same time. All right, this is going to help you respond better, build connections, and create content that resonates. Hey, is it Darianne? Am I pronouncing that right?
That is
all right, perfect. All right, nonverbal communication. All right, now in the digital world, nonverbal communication isn't about body language, right? Because we can't see the other person that's online most of the time. But it is more about how you express yourself through things like emojis, GIFs, or the tone of your text, right? It adds personality to your messages and helps people read your emotions or intentions. So if you are thinking, let's say Twitter or X or Threads, this is nonverbal communication. So depending on who your client is, you might choose one of those platforms that are more text-based. Like let's say your client happens to be an author, they might spend more time on Twitter or Threads than they might on Instagram. Real quick, can you guys hear these dogs in the background or no?
Not really. This is
right,
like
good. All right. Yeah, so we're actually going to get into that, how you're actually going to pick any platforms. as we go into what these projects are. The next thing you want to be able to do is deal with stress, right? Because in the digital world, it can get super hectic. So messages pouring in, we got deadlines that are looming. We might have a few tech glitches along the way, but being able to keep your cool in these situations is going to be super important because it's going to ensure that you can respond thoughtfully and not react impulsively and still maintain that professionalism. I don't know if you guys remember when Kevin Hart was going through that scandal with his now wife, right? When he went to Vegas and he cheated on her. And was it that? That's not what I meant. When he was supposed to host not the Grammys, the Emmys, it was. And someone saw some tweets that he posted like 10 years ago, and then he had to go back through apologizing and all that. And the people closest to him were telling him, look, leave it alone. Don't respond, don't get into it. But bro was just in his feelings responding to everybody and saying way too much. Right? So imagine you were managing Kevin Hart, being able to have effective communication. You're gonna have to be able to talk him through, like, look, you ain't gonna have to respond to everything, right? We may have people on our team that can help you with it, but dealing with stress is something that's really going to help, because you're not going to be able to think straight if you're worrying too much about these stressful situations. All right. So lastly, understanding emotions. All right. You want to understand your own emotions and those of the people you're communicating with. So this is going to be like a superpower. It lets you navigate tricky situations with empathy. So if someone's upset or excited, you pick up on that and respond appropriately, right? Making your digital interactions more meaningful. Because we have heard, if you're building a following, if you're building your influence online, then you're going to want to jump in the comments. You want to interact with people and your fan base all the time, right? And sometimes you're going to have to see what people are saying and find an appropriate way to respond. All right. So those 4 things, those are going to help you build your effective communication mix so that you have a toolkit that you can use for connecting, engaging, and succeeding in whatever you're going to be passionate about in arts, entertainment, or any other endeavor. Because at the end of the day, it's that soft. All right. So in the business of arts and entertainment, digital communication is like your secret sauce for success. So those skills, those 4 skills that I just mentioned, right? Those ingredients, they are like that secret sauce that's going to help you move forward. All right. So those with those, and yes, you're going to get a recording. You're going to get the slides, but I do encourage you to take notes, and also let's get those cams up. All right, you want to have those cameras on, because if this was in person, I would be seeing you guys' faces anyway. Yeah. So during the course of this class, I'm going to be expecting to at least get those cameras up at some point. All right. So moving on from here, we're going to be talking about the tools that we're going to be using and the approaches to those tools, right? And why this whole thing is going to matter. Now, right. So the early stages of this class, like within the next, let's say 2 weeks, is really going to be more talk heavy. But then as we move forward, it's going to be more activity, right? So if you got your stuffed animal, if you do have your stuffed animal, you can just drop a 7 in the chat. Let me know. If you're still looking and trying to source that, that is fine as well. But if you already have it, phenomenal. All right, so digital approaches and tools. So here's the deal. In our world, we're all about getting the word out. We want to spread the message so that it's loud and clear. All right, Kabira, no problem. You got the recording that you can get back to, but we're going to keep going. And I don't know if you heard just now, but you want to get that camera up and on. Feel free to unmute your mic because the recording is going to help you as well as the others that are in class. All right, what was I saying? Right, we want to spread a message. We want to make sure that it's loud and clear and making it stick in people's minds. So we've got this unique knack for communication, no matter how we choose it or what fancy tool that we use. So the first thing we have old versus new. All right, so the old way is things like newspapers, magazines, radio, TV, big billboards. Those are all really, really good and they've had their place. But where we are right now, the world has gone mostly digital, right? It's really leaning towards this digital space. And everyone is tuned in there. You spend most of your time in some kind of digital way, right? You're either on your phone, you're on a computer, you're on a laptop, something. And if you think of it, speaking the language that they're listening to right now is going to be key. So if people aren't really listening to the radio or not really reading newspapers, talking over there, you're going to miss a large portion of your audience. Now, that's not to say there aren't people over there. They are, all right? But you're going to need to know where to put the energy so that it makes sense for you. That's where it brings us on to mix and matching, all right? So you're not saying that this is a one-size-fits-all. Your client may not need to be as digital as you might think, right? So since it's not one size fit all, we're saying you got to be smart about it, right? You got to be able to use the different ways of communicating to say the same awesome thing, but tweak it a bit to fit the platform. So it's like having several notes that make up one sweet melody, but each note has to be just right for the whole song to sound amazing. All right, so let's just think of it this way. Your client is an author. Off the bat, you know that is going to involve a whole lot of words. This person likes to write. They may not like talking. They may not like being on camera. They'd rather be anonymous, maybe. All right? If that's the case, then off the bat, you know their social media platform of choice most likely is going to be something text-based, X or Threads. So they might be tweeting a lot, and that's completely fine. However, if they go on another platform like LinkedIn that allows you to have articles, or in their case, it may be chapters that they're working on. It may be a couple paragraphs that they're working on, all right? That is more reader friendly because people on there are more willing to read, but you might take that large format, trim it down, and turn that into a tweet. Or you might work with a graphic designer now, take a few of those a paragraph or so and get the graphic designer to add an image and put that on top. So all of a sudden you have a visual to go with the text. Or you might decide, hey, let's tap into AI. Let's create an avatar for myself, the author, and we're going to have this avatar now become two of the characters from the story. So you're going to have a conversation going. And that might be on YouTube. All right, so it's taking the same information, but you're now putting it in different places so that the messaging makes sense for the platform that you're going to be on. All right, but we're going to be getting into that in a more specific sense as we move on. All right, so in a nutshell, it's about being smart, speaking the digital language, and tailoring our message for every. Yes, please.
We're still sharing the slide and it's gone on to something else. It's still on digital approaches and tools. So for me.
Yeah, I didn't go anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, most of that is just notes. Right, but that's what I was really talking about. All right, so this is going to help bring things together because I don't necessarily put on screen everything that I'm going to be saying, but then there are going to be slides that break down the larger things that I'm saying in smaller bite-sized pieces, right? So you can grab what you can while I'm talking, but then you also know that you got the recording that you can always go back to, and you're going to get the slides as well, all right? Because I do want to encourage you to take your own notes. You can be like, sir, you're talking too fast. Can you go over this, go over that? I didn't quite understand. That's completely fine. All right.
Okay.
Brian, welcome to the call. And again, guys, you want to get those cameras up. I don't want to be here just talking to my lovely camera here. All right, I actually want to see your face and we can interact. And I know you're not falling asleep on the call. All right, so we got digital. Yes.
I was telling you about my camera because the electricity was on and off. I'm waiting till my uploads.
Okay, no worries. All right, so our digital approaches, we have 3 steps that we're going to be focusing on. 1, collaboration. 2, content creation. And 3, productivity. So collaboration, when it comes to working together, it's all about being on the same page. Even if you're miles apart, we want to use tools like Slack, right? Slack is something that we can use for real-time chatting. Zoom, like we're on right now, for video meetings. We have Trello, Trello, for project management. And these tools help make teamwork smooth, all right? Whether you're in the same room or you're on different continents. Now, these platforms all exist in a digital space. They all exist online. So what that's going to allow you to do is, let's just talk about Slack real quick. So you're on, has anyone on the call ever used Slack? Or this is your first time hearing about it? If you have, you could just, all right, now, no problem. So Slack, the simplest way I can put it is, imagine Facebook, but specific for a project. So you had a Facebook group, and you're able to say, I want to work on this particular project, and I want to have these people on my team. When you are all together, you're able to, let's say Ryan was a graphic designer, he dropped an image. Kabira is the project manager, so she has to approve things and that sort of thing. She can say, all right, this is great, let's move on to the next step. Darian might be a copywriter, so then she says, all right, cool, let's take this image. I think these words are going to be great, but everyone is going to be able to see every step because it just exists on a public space online that's confined to those people that are within the group. All right, which will be a lot better than each of you working in a Word file and then sending it to the next person, and then they got to do something and then sending it somewhere else. All right, so this is how we'll be able to work together in a more cohesive way. And if you fast forward to you working with your client, again, using the example of your client being an author, yes, they're going to be working on writing, but they might have an editor or a couple editors. All right, if that's the case, then they're going to have to send it to this individual in order for them to review and make some changes. Yeah, so that's how you can see these things working together a lot smoother. So content creation. You want to create eye-catching content that speaks to your audience. And doing that is going to be the name of the game. So a tool like Canva is going to be beautiful for graphics. Canva, we're going to be looking at a little later in the semester, but you guys are at least going to know the thinking first. You're going to know the thinking of how to approach using a tool like Canva. I don't expect you guys to turn into graphic designers within 1 semester. That's near to impossible. But you're going to be able to have conversations with a graphic designer, and they won't be able to string you along, right? You're going to know exactly what you want, and you're going to be able to pretty much demand that of them, all right? So that's how we're going to be doing this. So tools like Canva, Adobe Creative Cloud, that's Illustrator, Photoshop, those kind of tools, which are usually used for professional design. Also tools like Grammarly for writing. Yeah, that's going to be key. Grammarly is Google Chrome extension or Firefox extension. So you could be writing, and let's say you have a Google Doc for your class project. You could be typing, and then Grammarly is going to pick up the different mistakes, but not just grammatical mistakes. It may say, based on the sentence that you have, you don't need this particular word, or these 2 words should have been hyphenated. That sort of thing is what's going to be helpful with tools like Grammarly. It's not going to do the work for you, but it's going to help you get a better output in the end. Now, for audio-based tools, you're going to have things like Audacity or Adobe Audition, which are going to help with recording, editing, and just getting that production together. All right. Then you have platforms like Anchor and Podbean, which are going to be great for hosting and then distributing podcasts. So if interviews are your thing, then you can also decide, you know what, I'm going to get the person that I want to speak to on Zoom or on Skype. We're going to have a face-to-face interview, even though we are separated by an ocean or separated by a couple parishes. All right, you can use the different tools to get your work done. Yeah. Now, productivity. You want to stay productive in this digital jungle, and that's going to be key. So if you have something like Toggle is something that you can use for time tracking. That's Toggl. Again, I believe that is a Chrome extension, but it might also be an app by itself. I know definitely it's a mobile app. So if you're working on a project and whoever you're working on needs you to account for the time that you're taking, then this is something that you can use. You have another one called Asana. This is for task management. Again, if you have a team, you're able to work with this team and assign tasks. You can say that this is for you, this is for you, set dates, deadlines, and that whole thing. There's Google Workspace, which used to be Google Suite. This is going to help for seamless collaboration because now everything is going to exist on the cloud, and you just add people to your workspace so that everything stays up to date and no one is going to be left behind. So on your screen here, you're going to see some of the tools that I mentioned just now. Project management, you got Trello, ClickUp, Slack, Toggle, Asana. Those are some that I mentioned. Grammarly, as well as Creative Cloud, Canva. So all of these are different tools that can be used for different things. All right, because at the end of the day, when we are communicating through digital means, you're going to touch on some of these, and then you might personally find something else that works for you that's not even on this list. So this list doesn't mean this is all there is, but at least with the headings, you can see if you're doing something video based, you're in this place. You might need an audio based app, graphics based app, all right, and you can take it from there. How are you feeling? You guys following so far? The pace is okay?
Yes.
All right, perfect. And we're gonna have a break in between, so I don't think you guys just want to sit down here for 3 hours. I'm not that horrible. All right, so mobile communication devices. We're talking about your phones, your tablets, your laptops. The question is, are they smart? You know what I mean? Are they smart or not? So, our mobile devices have turned into these little pocket powerhouses. So, seriously, they can do some amazing stuff, almost like a full-fledged computer. But here's the thing. Not all of us are using them to their full potential. And I'm sure you guys can agree. You got a phone, and you mainly might use it to take pictures and make calls and message people. But it can do so much more, but you haven't really been tapping into it, right? That's the reason why you might take photos with your phone, and then a photographer takes photos with the same phone, and then all of a sudden there's this drastic difference in the quality, all right? You might be doing interviews, and one person comes with a whole mic setup and all that, and the other person just has their phone, and they're able to get the same quality. All right, because our devices are so powerful, we need to know how to leverage them. All right, and that's part of what we're going to be encouraging here in this particular class. So why is it that sometimes we underestimate these awesome devices? All right, so for some, it's all about the selfie game. They want to have that perfect Instagram shot. Others are all about cramming their entire music selection into their device. And then there are those that just want to be a trendsetter in the group. You know what I mean? They always have the latest gadget before anyone else. And of course, people have the question, is this going to actually get me online? Right? If it can't get me online, I don't want it. right? So some people just want a phone. But here's the fun part. The reason why we pick these gadgets says a lot about us. Yeah? Says a lot about us as an individual. It's not just about calling and texting. It's like a statement. It's like telling the world, hey, this is my style. This is my vibe. This is my tribe. Like if I were to ask you, is there anyone in the call that has an iPhone? All right. Or is there anyone that has Samsung? All right. You might relate to a particular device and you might have a particular feeling about another device based on the one that you have. Yeah. So that's just something that naturally comes with it. So why not take that stylish, trendy, tech-savvy side of you and put it to work in this digital world? All right, your mobile device can do so much more than you think. So whether it's for work, play, or just making life a bit easier, it's like having a Swiss Army knife in your pocket. You never know when a Kirk Seale might come in. All right, so we are able to do a whole lot. Some of what we can able to do, you're going to be seeing here on the screen. So our mobile devices are not just the selfies music. They hold that power that we can connect, engage, and leave a lasting impact on the digital realm. First and foremost, we have connection amplifiers. All right, that's one thing that our mobile devices can be. Connection amplifiers. All right, so these devices, with a simple tap or swipe, you can connect. You can instantly connect, with people across the globe. So whether this is through social media, video calls, and messaging apps, your mobile phone lets you bridge the distance and shrink the world. So just imagine, a couple years ago, there is no way on the planet that you could probably have a conversation with a billionaire. Probably not. But there's a greater chance of you at least getting feedback by just sliding into their DMs. You slide in their DMs with the right question, you might actually get an answer, right? But that wasn't there before. If you wanted to start a business in clothing, or let's say you wanted to make candles, you can literally find an entrepreneur somewhere else across the globe that's doing the exact same thing that you're interested in, and guess what? Slide into their DMs. Ask a question like, hey, I'm from Barbados. I'm looking to do what you do. What you're doing looks amazing. Can you help me? Yeah? Or what can I do to help you? And then, you can build a relationship that way. That wasn't there before, but it's possible now, right? If you found a supplier for these same candles and they're all the way in China, you no longer have to get on a plane and fly all the way there. You can hop on a Zoom call and talk about the project. All right, so connection amplifiers is just the first one. Next up, engagement engines. All right, so these are pretty much on steroids, right? They're all the way amped up. You can share content that resonates with your audience right from your phone, right? You're able to post compelling photos, share insightful videos, or even go live to interact with your followers in real time. These devices are going to empower you to keep your audience engaged and keep coming back for more. All right, so this is just by talking about it at this level, you can imagine the different apps that you might want to use. And us on this call, we might have different apps that come to mind. But if you're going to be engaging, your device allows you to do that just off the bat. You don't necessarily have to be like getting a film crew to follow you around and do all that. You just do it from your phone. Do it exactly yourself. And you can build an audience. You can build an audience, you can start to build a tribe. That tribe is going to become a brand. That brand gets big enough, all right, you now have a movement. And then all you do is serve that movement. All right, you keep giving them things that they can purchase, things that they can experience, and things that they can enjoy. Next up, we have impact maximizers. All right, with the right apps, the right tools, and you can craft powerful messages, design stunning visuals, and even track results of your own efforts. So whether you're promoting a cause, building a brand, or just sharing your passion, these devices are going to give you the tools to make a real impact. So, like I mentioned on the last slide, it's not about having the coolest device. All right, it's about using it to its fullest potential to connect with the world, to engage your audience, and then create lasting impact. So your mobile device is just a tool, right? And your ability to master the art of digital communication is really going to set you apart from anyone else out there. All right, and this is specific in the content of art and entertainment management. All right. I think Ryan might be having some internet issues. All right, so I'm gonna keep going. So from here, guys, I am actually going to introduce you to principles of design. All right, these principles of design are what we're going to be using as we move into the world of Canva and using that tool to help us create posters, flyers, posts, all of that stuff. But you're going to have to understand what you're doing before I just toss you in there and ask you to create something. All right, so I'm going to give you some of the principles that you can use, and then once you know them, you can then learn how to break them. All right, and then we're going to have a great time. All right, so after I go through this, we're then going to take a bit of a break, and then we're going to circle back. All right, so on your screen, you're going to be seeing the principles of design. All right, and right now they are 4: contrast, repetition, alignment, proximity. These are principles of design. Now, what's amazing, if you understand these principles and you take them, you can apply them to your client. All right, I'm going to show you how that's going to be possible this evening. So, contrast. Contrast pretty much means you want to stand out with style. I want you to think of contrast as a spotlight in your design. It's like putting opposites side by side. All right, you want bold colors, light versus dark, or horizontal versus vertical. All right, contrast makes important stuff pop and says, look at me. That's what contrast does. All right, so even here on your screen, you're going to see this contrast in color, this contrast in tone and value, this contrast in shape. Because if you have a square and then you have a circle, those two are going to contrast each other. They feel like opposites. They feel very different to each other. Direction. This is going left to right. This is going up and down. That's contrast. All right, but the whole point of contrast is to pull attention. Now, repetition. Repetition, you want to let friends stick together. Repetition is like having your design elements hang out together, right? It's all about making things feel familiar and connected. It's like creating a rhythm in a song, making your design feel organized and groovy. All right, so repetition, you're looking at what keeps happening over and over and over. So right here in the design, you can see in this first square, we have 4 circles. But the 4 circles aren't just anywhere. The 4 circles are literally right underneath each other. And along with being right underneath each other, evenly spaced, they're also on the right side of the page. All right, that's repetition. If these 2 squares, if you were just looking at this square and this square, you can see they look identical. That's repetition as well. All right, so that's like when you go to a restaurant, You want to know that if you order a pasta Alfredo, Alfredo pasta, yeah, you want to know that it looks the same every single time. You don't want to go to the same restaurant and every time they give you this Alfredo, it looks completely different. Sometimes it's green, sometimes it's red, sometimes they're using macaroni, sometimes they're using penne. You know what I mean? You want to know that every time I get this, it looks the same way. That repetition is going to build trust. All right. So the same thing is going to be with your client. Imagine your client comes on stage. I'm jumping ahead a bit, but imagine your client comes on stage. They're a singer, and every time they have a mic stand, but they put a scarf on it. The scarf might change, but as long as they're performing, there's going to be a mic stand with a scarf on it. Eventually, your audience is going to connect. They're going to be like, all right, cool. Anytime Kabira is on stage, there's going to be a mic stand with a scarf on it. And maybe at some point during the performance, Kabira always takes the scarf off the microphone and tosses it to the audience. All right? That does two things. Actually, let me hear from you guys. What do you think that whole experience is going to do? Imagine your favorite artist. Every time you see them, they got a mic stand with a scarf. And then at some point in the performance, they take the scarf off the stand and they toss it to the audience. What do you think about that?
I think it would create excitement.
Okay. Creates excitement.
I think it helps to build their brand. It's something that they will be known for.
Yeah. Yeah. Both. You guys are correct. Because if you've seen it enough times, then you're expecting it to happen. You know this thing is going to get tossed at some point. So you might then decide, you know what? I was going to get the tickets to be all the way at the back, but I think I'm going to get a ticket to be up at the front because I want to get this scarf. If I can get this scarf, I'm going to be the only one with this particular scarf. All right? Now, imagine if the artist then decides, you know what? I'm going to bring out a line of scarves. Right? They created the excitement from doing it themselves before anyone cared. After a while of doing it, they decide, you know what? Let me toss this out. That creates a scarcity because it's now, well, you're the one that picks it, that got this scarf. But then, when enough people have been like fighting and clamoring over, and they're like, you know what? Let me make sure everyone gets it. Here is my line of scarves. You guys could go to the website. You could come to the table at the concert when I'm performing, and you could buy your own scarf. All of a sudden now, you got the performance, but then you got merch. But those would have never happened if your client changed what they did every single time they came on stage. You know, so those are just things that you could think about as we get into talking about your clients and you go into developing. You can decide, you know what, I want to use repetition as a tactic to help my client to help them build their brand. But someone else will be like, you know what, I want to use contrast instead. And that could actually, when I get to it, that's going to make sense because I jumped ahead of one of my notes. All right, so alignment. Alignment, you want to be able to get your ducks in a row. All right, so alignment, this is going to be your secret weapon for order and neatness. It's like lining up your design elements so that they are that they play well together. But when things align, they create visual harmony. This doesn't necessarily mean that it's just a straight line all the time, because alignment works just like text align, where it's either left aligned, it's centered, it's right aligned, it's aligned to the top, aligned to the bottom, that sort of thing. Now, let's say this artist, when they perform, they have their microphone with a scarf. They are center stage, but then they have their backup singers right next to them, right? And then next to them, they have their musicians. They're on the left side and the right side as well. When you are looking at this from the audience, you're going to see like this kind of like triangle situation happening. Now, if your client likes contrast, you might do something different. Maybe you're to the right of the stage, your band is more over, your band and the backup singers, they're more on the left of the stage, right? There's contrast because there's one of you and there are a lot of them. But then you double up the contrast by having a spotlight on you, on your client, on the right, so that the attention goes there. And then your backup singers and your band, they wear dark colors, so they almost fade into the background. Even though they're bigger than you, they fade into the background. That's going to visually look a lot like this. A lot like the square and the circle. All right. Now, your particular client using contrast, they might decide today they want to be on the right and the band is on the left. Next week, they want to be in the middle and the band is behind them. Next time, they want to be on the left and the band is on the right. But each and every time, the spotlight is on them, the artist. The repetition is the spotlight is on the artist, the band and the musicians, they wear black and they fade into the background. So although they move around, you still know what's going to happen. You still know what to expect when you go and see this performance. All right, so proximity. Stick together even when apart. So proximity is like arranging a family photo. Your design elements don't have to be huddled together, but they should look like they belong. It's all about creating relationships and focal points in your design. So even when they're apart, they're connected in spirit. I don't know if you guys may have listened to 90s boys band. Like, you guys know B2K? Like Omarion and those guys? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. No. All right. All right. So in the 90s, there were a lot of boy bands, right? And we're talking about, let's say, a group that has like 5 people in it. They might all wear black and white, right? But it's not going to be. They're not all going to wear a white shirt and black pants. One person might be in a white shirt and black pants. Next person might be in all black. Another person might be in all white. Another person might be in a black shirt and white pants instead, right? So although it's the same color scheme, they're wearing it in different ways. Some people might be in a t-shirt. Another person might be no shirt and just a open jacket. Another person might be wearing a shirt and a jacket. Another person might, you get the idea. Proximity, you have things that are similar, but they're going to be also different. But because there's something that ties them together, you're not going to feel weird about it, right? Everything is going to feel like it fits. All right, so this is where now we're going to look at how we can use these tools specifically in arts and entertainment management. So let's talk about contrast. Now, I started talking about this before, but we have marketing materials, stage design, you got branding, and you got your artistic expression. So contrast is going to be your magic wand for creating impact. All right, so whether you're designing a poster for a music festival or a set or theater production or an album cover, contrast can make your work stand out in a crowded space. So imagine you're promoting a live music event. All right, the contrast of bold, vibrant colors against dark background that can draw the eye in and convey excitement of the event. Now, you can use contrasting fonts to highlight the event's name and date. So imagine a big bold font. This is the name of the event. This is the date. The price might be a smaller, skinnier font, right? But because this is big and bold, your eye is going to be drawn to that. So you know the name of this concert is Views, right? And then you're going to have to look around to get the rest of the information. For entrepreneurs and creative practitioners, I want you to think of contrast as your way of saying, hey, this is important. So when you're designing a website, a contrasting call to action button can guide visitors to take that desired action, right? So if you've ever been on a website, you might find that buttons like buy now, click for more details, add to cart. What color are those buttons usually? And then what color is the background of the website?
Blue. And
Yeah,
then
we
the
got
sky is white.
All right, there you go. So you got white and then you got color light blue, or you might have white and red. Something that stands out, those buttons tend to be those colors. But when we are scrolling through the sites, we might not think about that. But those things are not done by accident. All right, they know exactly what they're doing. So in summary, contrast is your tool for creating visual excitement and emphasizing key elements, ensuring that your arts and entertainment endeavors get the attention they deserve. So as we move forward and you're thinking about using contrast, you're going to be trying to figure out, all right, how can I bring more drama to this particular element? All right, let's say your client is an author, right? Your client is an author and they write romance novels. If you wanted to use contrast, you know that the romance, the books, they're going to be soft. They're going to lean more towards love. There's that storytelling. There's that heartstring. You're going to say, oh, you're going to have those feelings while you're reading the book. Now, what if the environment feels completely different? Like it feels like flip side. When you walk into the space, it doesn't feel soft. There are a lot of hard edges. There might be some spikes or I don't know. There's something else around. It may be interesting for you to walk in, but now when you see the book in that space, the book may now stand out more. All right, you guys following?
Yeah.
All right, that's something that can happen. So if it was you're in a bookstore, depending on the story that you want to tell, you might be in the romance section, but your cover may feel more dark and mysterious, right? Because all the other books that are there are going to be soft and sweet. So if you also look soft and sweet, you're not going to be able to stand out as much. So if the goal is to stand out so that you're the first book people pick up, then you got to think, what can I do now to stand out? And if you want to stand out, contrast is something that you can work with. Now we spoke about stage design a little bit, where the main performer might wear a light color, the other performers might wear a darker color. You guys saw Rihanna at the Super Bowl. What color was her outfit?
Right.
Right? Super bright red. Everybody else, white. A sea of people. She's in red, they're in white. When she's up on the floating levels, and you could just see the spectators' cameras flashing in the background, she's still visible, right? The background is mainly mainly black. The camera flashes, if people put on their flashlights or whatever, those are going to be white, but she's red, right? None of those colors are going to be more dramatic than her in that space, so she's always visible. Could you imagine if Rihanna was wearing white and everybody else was wearing red? There would still be a contrast there, but white isn't as strong a color as red. Yeah, and then also when she goes up on those levels, because all the camera flashes, her white may not look as sharp because you got all this other white light around. Yeah, so those may not be things that you think about when you're watching it. You might just be focusing on the performance. You might just be like, hey, let me see what Rihanna is doing here. But now if you were to go back and watch it, you might see different choices that have been made. All right. All right, good. Let's move on. We have repetition. All right, repetition. We want to be able to build familiarity and unity. You want to have consistency. You want to evoke emotions. And we can also talk about branding here. So repetition is the melody that sticks in your head long after a concert. So in arts and entertainment, it's about creating memorable themes, patterns, and consistency throughout your work. I want you to think about a music album. The repetition of a particular musical motif, that motif could be like part of the beat. I'm trying to think of a recent song, not coming to mind right now. Actually, you guys know Jaws, the movie with the shark? Right here.
Yeah.
Right? That part, anytime, anywhere you hear those two notes, you automatically think about that movie, right? Evokes the emotion immediately. It's just two notes. You could be swimming in a pool, you hear dun, you might subconsciously start to look around to see if there's a shark. But you know you're in a swimming pool. But that has been the brand of those two notes is so strong that you automatically think shark, danger, let me get out of here. All right. Sometimes horror movies do it, where there's a sound that you hear that tells you that something is about to happen. All right. If you're watching a thriller, the music changes right before someone dies or when someone is in trouble, and you feel it. You feel it yourself, right? And that might be a bit of contrast as well. The music before, you may not have noticed it, but as soon as it gets to the little scary part, the music shifts and all of a sudden it's uncomfortable. The music makes you uncomfortable. Yeah, so these are all things that we can do as we keep it moving. Right, so in theater and film, repetition can be seen in recurring visual motifs or symbols that reinforce the storyline or the themes. For instance, a specific color or an object might reappear at critical moments to evoke emotions or convey a message. All right, so that's all things that we can do. So again, if you even went back to the performance, right? We spoke about the mic stand with the scarf on it. Without the scarf, it's just a mic stand. With the scarf, it's this particular artist every single time. Entrepreneurs and creatives can harness the power of repetition in branding, a consistent logo, a specific color scheme. You guys know Janelle Monáe, the artist Janelle Monáe?
No, please.
Okay, all right. Well, she wears black and white a lot. That's like her thing. All right, she wears black and white suits. Now she's been wearing different colors, but when she first started out, black and white has been her thing from day one. All right, so visual style across your marketing materials, products can make your brand instantly recognizable. So when people see these repeated elements, they'll associate them with your unique identity. So things like merch, right? If you say something a lot as an artist, or you guys know that TikTok influencer, I think her name was Baby Doll, that does the NPC, gang gang, y'all know her, right?
Yes.
I can hear the annoyance. Yeah, if she brought out a t-shirt line that had gang gang, like people would already automatically think of her, although she's not the first person to say the word gang. Yeah, so just by doing that, like doing it before it's interesting, doing it before it's cool, you can then do a lot of other things based on that. All right, so whether you're creating art, music, film, running a creative business, repetition is a tool for building memorable themes and leaving a lasting impression in the minds of your audience. We got alignment up next, right? Where we are creating visual harmony. So imagine you're designing a theater stage for a production. Alignment is your secret sauce for making sure everything looks great. So when the set pieces, when the actors, the lighting are perfectly arranged, the audience's experience is seamless and the story flows effortlessly. Right? It's like one of those moments where you don't feel like anything goes wrong, so you don't really notice anything. I don't know if you've ever been to like a live performance and you realize something isn't right and you just can't help but notice it. Those are some problems and issues that you can't get away from if it starts to happen. So in visual arts, like paintings or photography, alignment ensures that your composition feels balanced. It feels pleasing to the eye. So whether it's arranging these elements in a painting or framing a shot for a film, aligning your visual components creates a sense of order and a sense of harmony. So even, I don't know if you guys can still see my camera up, but even how I am in the frame. Now I could be in the middle of the frame, but if I were to go over here, if it was talking to you guys from over here, would this feel weird to you?
Yeah, it feels like you don't want to be in camera.
Right? So that's all a thing, right? But that could be a choice. Depending on also what's going on this side. Right? So this side is darker, this side is lighter. So if I'm over here, it may not feel as weird because there's some light over here. Yeah, so all those are things. So it really depends now. So let's say your client was an author of thrillers. You know what I mean? They write scary books. When they're doing interviews, because of how their storytelling is, they might decide, or I might you as the manager might go talk to the people before they film it and say like, when during the interview, I want you to make sure my client is over here. Just for the uncomfortable feeling that it gives you, he wants you to have it. Because when you read the book, you're also going to feel uncomfortable. Right? That might be a weird thing to do, but you might remember it. You might more remember the interview with the guy who was sitting on the far right of the screen than every other interview when the people were centered. Yeah? So those are all things that you can consider. Right? And this is just using these 4 elements of design. Like, so much more that you can do. So for event managers, administrators, alignment is crucial in organizing large-scale concerts, festivals, exhibitions, ensuring that the logistics and the schedules and resources align properly ensures that everything runs smoothly and the audience enjoys flawless experience, right? Now that's a different way to look at alignment, because now you wanted to hold this big festival, but you're now thinking about the end user. Earlier at the beginning of the class, we spoke about what digital is. A part of digital is being consumer-led, being focused on the end user, right? Being focused on who it is for. So if you're hosting it, if you want to create an event, create a festival, but you are only thinking what looks cool to you, it may not work out how you might think, right? You might like it, but you might be the only one there. All right, so let's go. Go ahead.
Another word for that, it would be like target market, right?
Yes. Knowing your target market, right? Because you're focused on them, but then you need to be as authentic as you can with yourself to be able to reach them in a way that they're going to hear. So, like earlier from the call, I was asking you guys about bands from the 90s, and you're like, I don't know people from the 90s, Kirk. I wouldn't know that. So I would now have to find more recent references so that you guys understand what I'm saying. Otherwise, there's going to be a disconnect in our communication. Yeah? All right, so in essence, alignment is your tool for creating visual harmony, order, and a sense of purpose. All right, it ensures that every element plays its part in delivering a cohesive, memorable experience for your audience. Last up, we have proximity. All right, we want to create meaning. There's proximity in sound design, festival design, web design. Imagine you're creating an art exhibition, right? And you have various various sculptures. Proximity is your curator's brush, right? The curator is the person that just pulled all the pieces together. So this is going to allow you to create pieces, to arrange pieces that create meaning and connection. So placing similar artworks closer together can help viewers appreciate themes and styles. So that's going to look a lot like this. So imagine you walk into an art gallery, right? And you have realistic paintings. Those are here. Abstract paintings over here. Photography over there, you know? And things based on still life over there. If you separate these things like that, then as a viewer, as you're walking, you're appreciating everything within the same, like, you're looking at the same thing at the same time. They may be slightly different, right? As in the technique that you use for the still life might be the technique that you used on some of the paintings, but because of the subject matter, because of what it's focused on, you can't look at the two things at the same time. It's going to be weird for you to look at. Yeah, so that might be a way that you pull things around. In music, proximity can be found in how songs are organized within an album. Right, the tracks are carefully arranged to create an emotional journey for the listener, with each song's mood and theme influencing the next. All right, so I don't know if you guys have if you guys listen to albums now, or if it's just, you know what I mean, singles, favorite songs that you just got on your phones. But if there is an album that you listen to top to bottom, you might start to realize that there's this feeling that you get as you listen, right? The hype songs somewhere in the middle, and then there are more thoughtful songs somewhere to the end, right? Or you might have thoughtful at the beginning and full hype at the end, something like that. So the way that everything flows together is something that you can consider with proximity. So now, if you're thinking about your artist, let's go back to Mike Stan with the scarf. You are now also thinking about the set list, right? You're thinking, all right, we have this thing, we got this scarf, we know people want this scarf. So we already know that they're going to be looking forward for whenever I randomly throw this scarf out. But on top of that, let's see how we place these songs together. Have you guys seen the clip of Beyonce's concert where she says, what's the line? Something, 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 and everybody goes mute. Have you seen that on Instagram or TikTok?
Yes.
Right? And you saw the long one where it's like, it's about at least 10 concerts that you see her sing the same thing, and it tells you the time, which concert it was. The people in the earlier concerts, every time she said everybody go mute, they then took that opportunity to sing what she wasn't singing. But then later on, people caught on to what was supposed to happen. When I say everybody go mute, no one sings. Right? Now that created a moment, right? That created a moment with the concert that everybody was now a part of, right? And that's some things that you can do with your artist, because when you're listening to the album, the song doesn't cut out at that point. She keeps going. But now, because it's a live performance, because you got people that dancing around, they're enjoying everything, you're like, all right, how can we take this song and create a moment. All right, so that little trick in there is something you can consider. And you as a manager, you may not have to think about it, but if you're thinking about these elements of these principles of design, you would know, all right, so when you have the meeting about the tour that you're going to do, you're like, hey guys, how can we create moments with these songs? That's a question that you'll be leading as a manager, but then you get the people that you have in this space, the choreographer, the music director. They then have to take your question and come up with a solution that works. All right, and this is how you start to set yourself apart from other managers that are out there that are just like, just sing the songs, just sing the songs exactly how it is in the album, sing them exactly like that, because the people know it from the album. They don't want to hear it sung differently. It's a choice, right? But a live performance, it's not an album. When you're listening to an album, you might be doing work, right? When you're listening to the album, you might be driving. But when you're at a concert, your energy is at an all-time high. So why not tap into that, right? Pull from what you get from DJs, right? DJs that actually move the crowd. Pull from that, and then you can see what can actually happen. Where was I? All right. Entrepreneurs, they also use proximity in web design, right? On websites, where they group related content or products together on the website to make it easier for visitors to explore and find what they're looking for. Yeah, so you might go to a website and right away, boom, this is on sale. Right there on the home page, you know what's on sale. You click that, it takes you to a page, only has these sale items. But then further down, they might have whatever they want to feature. The things that they really want you to notice might be on the home page. But then you might gotta go deep into it to find some stuff that they don't really care if you buy or not, right? You might gotta go searching for it. But that is an element of proximity. It's the same thing that happened with the art gallery by putting the different types of things together. All right, so in summary, proximity is your tool for creating relationships, focal points. All right, so whether you're curating art, arranging music, organizing events, or designing digital experiences, it guides the audience attention and helps them connect with your creative endeavors. All right, so let me just go back real quick. So that was contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. These aren't just things that a graphic designer can use. You as a manager can take the concept of these things and create even more for those people that you're managing. All right, you're not going to get it just off the first time hearing it, but these are things that you can get into. I'm not going to do the same thing with these, but you guys are going to get this slide so that you can see what these are. These are now elements of design. This is different to principles. All right, principles are bigger, they're more conceptual. Elements, those are just things that elements can support each of the principles. All right, so again, when I mentioned the boy bands and they were wearing black and white, let's say they all wore black and white, but someone had horizontal lines, someone had vertical lines, someone had swirls, right? Their black and white is going to be different because they're using lines as an element. All right, your author, whenever he's doing a book reading at not a library, a place that sells books, right? He's doing a reading at a bookstore. He might want like a light, like how I have this blue light here. He might want a red light coming on him because why? His books are a thriller. He wants to have that uneasy feeling in his face. That might be something that he needs. So that might be color, right? Texture, like when I mentioned the book, the romance book, which is soft and it feels like love and all those feelings, but the environment is more sharp and rigid and dark, right? Those textures are going to allow the book to stand out, which then creates that principle of contrast, right? But you guys are going to see that as you go through this information. So with that being said, you guys get to take a little break. We've been here for about an hour and a half now. We got about an hour and a half left to go. So from here, we are going into this space where we're going to be developing Stylescape. What a Stylescape is pretty much, it's very similar to a mood board, but it just goes a little further, right? This is going to allow you to get a better understanding of who your client is at a first step. And then you're gonna take the same approach to working out who your client's audience is. All right, so we're gonna be doing both. But we're gonna start with your client first. All right. Now here, actually, I'm supposed to change the text on these. So I'm just gonna show you some examples first. So these are examples all of Stylescapes. And these Stylescapes are going to represent the person. All right, so you can imagine this Stylescape belongs to a fitness enthusiast. You can tell because she's wearing that active wear. She's in kind of like a running pose, right? She's here doing the battle ropes, boxing gloves, that sort of thing. Sports bra. So you can tell that she's definitely into fitness just off the bat. You can also tell she's into health and healthy living just based on what she has here in this cart. We got some greens, we got some vegetables. I don't know what this app is. At first I thought it was Tinder, but I'm not sure what this is. It might be a fitness app. Yeah. She's also into the outdoors, hiking. She's clearly up pretty high, so she had to do some hiking to get there. So not just the gym, not just boxing, but she's all round active. Yeah. Also, she's from Chicago. All right. How can we tell? Because of this photo right here of the bean. This bean is a thing that people like to go to see when they're in Chicago. This could either be where she works or the type of work that she does. Kind of like a joint collaborative office space. And then we got some green juice, red juice, all that fun stuff. So you can use these Stylescapes to paint a picture of who your client is. So if your client is an author, I should be able to tell what kind of author is this, right? His stories lean towards, his or her stories, lean in what direction, right? Where is he from? What is he into? Because just what he does, right, what the author does is only part of who they are. And if you're going to be communicating, if you're going to be sharing this story about this individual, you gotta be clear on who they are, right? What their personality is. All of that kind of stuff is things you're going to be able to put together to help tell their story. All right, here's another example of a Stylescape. This time, this one was for a restaurant, right? So the restaurant here, they had a different type of Stylescape, right? There, you can tell there are not really any people here, but you know that the restaurant is going to be somewhere in Seattle. It's going to be close to the water, just looking at this pin, right? The colors that they're into are red and blue. You got the red and blue, red and blue, red and blue. You got red. It might be near the water, inspired by water. They really like the architecture that has these huge glass windows. So when people are inside eating, this is the kind of vibe that they want to have, right? They're also looking at how wood and like smooth textures kind of work together, right? So these are all elements that can help you paint a picture of what this restaurant could look like when it's all said and done. So I want you to think about your client, right? You're going to be creating this client from scratch. First thing that I want you to do is just jot down like 3 names. If you have a name that you really, really want to go with right away, then by all means, go with that. If you don't, write 3 names. All right, these names can be anything. You can name your client Red Pajamas if you wanted to. Yeah, just 3 names. Don't overthink it, but definitely still give it some thought. Outside of that, your client is going to be one of 3 professions. They're either going to be an author, a motivational speaker, or a musician. So an author, motivational speaker, or a musician. All right, motivational speaker, thought leader, anything along those lines. But they just talk for a living. The author writes for a living. The musician sings for a living. All right, so any of those 3 you can choose, and that is how we're going to start. All right, 3 names, pick one of those professions. If you aren't sure, like let's say you're trying to figure out, I want to do a musician or I want to do an author, put one of the names, give that name a particular profession, give another name another profession, and then do something else with the third. All right, so then you can always shoot me an email with what you've decided on, and then we can discuss. So I can then help you get clear on who you actually want to run with. Okay? Now, I also want you to, I'm also going to give you this in a document, supporting document in your email, but I want you to also think of 3 goals that your client wants to achieve. Okay, so there is an A-type goal. This is something that they can definitely achieve. They don't need to believe about it. They just know they're going to be able to do this. A-type goal, very, very simple. So if they are an author, the A-type goal might be write 2 chapters, right? Write 2 chapters before November, right? That might be their A-type goal. B-type goal, finish the book by first quarter 2024. That might be the B-type goal, right? B-type is they have to do a little effort to actually get it done. A C-type goal, this is going to cause them to stretch. This is something that they can only imagine. They don't know how they're going to get there. They don't know who they need to talk to, who they need to partner with to make it happen. But this is something that they want, right? That's going to be a C-type goal. Okay. All right, so you guys have those 3. A-type goals, something that they can see themselves doing right now. B-type, it's going to take a little work. C-type, they don't know how they're going to get it done, but they want to. Now, the context for our class, I mentioned this in the recording, is each of you are part of a talent management agency called Giant Hydra. All right? And each of you, this is going to be your first client on your own. So far, for the story of Giant Hydra, you have been always shadowing someone. But this is your opportunity to get your own client for yourself, and you have to see them from start to finish. Each client that you have, they have had a level of influence. They have done something, like they're a little bit known for what they do, but they want to get you to help them go to the next level, right? So they may have been, let's say they're a musician, they would have recorded some songs and they would have posted it, whether it's YouTube, whether it is doing stuff on TikTok, right? They've been putting out content. That's how they got your attention, right? That's how they found out about the agency, and that's why they're now looking to grow. What our talent agency does every year is we put together a showcase called LEAP, right? So LEAP 2024, this is the showcase that we're going to have the end of next year. It's all hypothetical, right? So we're going to have this showcase in 2024 where all the talent, all the individuals that you would have been working at, they're going to all come together at this event. So think of like BMX in Barbados, or if you guys saw AnimeCon a couple weekends ago at the gymnasium, everybody has a booth. That's the vibe that we're going to have, because the different projects that we have, they're all going to be set and around this idea of LEAP 2024, right? And for our agency, for Giant Hydra, there is room for 3 individuals to be on the main stage at the event. So if you could picture this event happening in real life, right? There's room for your client to possibly be on the main stage speaking or being interviewed or something like that at the event. Outside of that, all the clients are going to just have their booth. All right, is this clear so far?
Yes.
All right, cool. So if you want the C-type goal to be C-type, my client is on the main stage at LEAP 2024, your client has been selected, then cool. That could be your C-type goal. You're not sure how it's going to be, how it's going to happen, but you're going to make it happen. Yeah. Now, one of the projects, the game plan project, that is going to take some of this thought that you are doing right now and actually have it put into action. So that assignment, the game plan, that is going to take whatever your goals are, and then you're going to put some meat on that. You got to put some information around that to show how you're going to take your client from where they are to where they want to be. Yeah, and anything is on the table. This is just an exercise of your imagination, right? But we're going to talk about that a lot more. So right now, just to make sure everyone has it, 3 names. I want you to pick a profession. Give me an A, B, C-type goal for your client. We're going to at least start there, all right? And then we can start emailing back and forth to see how we can get some more of this information. All right, so when you guys are making your stylescapes, right, you're going to need images. You're going to need photos to help you build these up. These websites here are going to help you with that. All right, so you can use Pinterest, Behance, Dribbble. All of these have different types of photos that you can use to help you with this building out your stylescape. Now, to do these stylescape, you don't need to build a stylescape right now for your client, right? Because you guys don't necessarily know how to do it. But I'm going to be giving you a PowerPoint presentation, actually Canva, because you should be able to access that whether you have a phone, a tablet, or a laptop, as opposed to PowerPoint, which you need to have a computer. All right, so let me ask this question now. Do you guys all have a laptop or a tablet or at least a phone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Have any of you used Canva before?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
No.
All right. Darian, you said no?
Yeah, I have never used it.
All right. No problem. No problem. All right. So any of these, you're going to be able to get photos. So you can go on there and you can look for images that feel like your client. All right. Another one is FreePic. FREEPIK. FreePic is another website that you can give a try. If you go on there and you're searching, let's say African American women, you'll find some photos and you could just start pulling pictures that feel like your client, right? So I want you to be as descriptive as you want at this point. Like if you want your client to have natural hair, afro, whatever, just think about your client and you want me to write down all of that, right? This part isn't for grades, but by doing this groundwork early, it's going to make your selection, actually it's going to make completing those projects a whole lot easier if you actually spend the time to do this right now. Yeah?
Okay, so I have a question. This
Sure.
is different from the stuffed animal thing.
No, your client is the stuffed animal. Right? Just that
Okay.
for your client is a stuffed animal, so that, like, let's say you did a photography project, you could just take the pictures real easy. Right? If you wanted to do Instagram as one of your projects and you need to take pictures of them, it's easy if you just have a stuffed animal that you could pick up whenever you want, as opposed to you using a friend as a client, right? Because then you gotta work out calendars and make sure that they could go. They might want to get their hair done and all this other stuff. But in your imagination, your client is not a stuffed animal, right? Your client is going to look and like a human being. They're going to have certain personality and all that.
Okay.
All right. Yes. So the stuffed animal just makes taking pictures and creating content a lot easier. So if let's say you chose to do the podcast, you could literally put the stuffed animal and another stuffed animal in the chair, and you could like use your camera and film it, and you pretend to be the voice. That's fine, right? Actually, I'll go through the projects a little bit, coming down to the end, because for me, I am more concerned about your thinking and the choices that you make for all the assignments that you do, more so than what you sound like. So if you decide to do the song or the podcast, you can sound terrible. That is fine. I'm not grading you on how you sound. I just need it to be your voice, right? So if you choose a musician and you know you can't sing, don't worry about it. Just, try a thing. Make a joyful noise, right? Because it's not music class. All right. All right. So another set of threes that I need you guys to jot down for your client is you want to be able to describe your client in 3 words, right? You may not start with 3. Like if you start with 10, then it's just to work it down to 3. All right. So you're just describing your client in these 3 words. These 3 words can speak to their personality. They can speak to how they do what they want to be known for, or it can speak to, let's say, their style, right? So let's say you wanted your client to be outgoing, they have attention for detail, and then they are resort chic, right? Let's say those are your 3 things. They're outgoing, they have an attention for detail, but they are resort chic. So that's like they wear Birkin socks, they wear linen outfits, so they like to be cool. They don't like to have a lot of heavy clothing on, but if they're in a room, then chances are they're going to be networking, they're going to be talking to individuals, and then they also, because they have that attention to detail, they might have a lot of fine pieces, right? Little detail points, little accents in their clothing. So let's see someone is in the chat. Okay. So, Kanisha, what were you laughing at?
I was laughing at make a joyful noise.
Oh, yeah, make a joyful noise. Hello, good night there. I saw you subscribe to the page. That's cool. Good stuff. So the recording is gonna go up sometime, if not tonight, sometime tomorrow. Just hoping that electricity does me well. But you'll be able to get a recording of everything that you just missed. Yeah, no worries. No worries. We are just talking about what you can do with your client. Oh, let me actually back up. So at least you have this that you can go with. All right. So for Aaliyah, right? I'm pronouncing that right?
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. What I need you to do is your client. I want you to think about your client. All right. Come up with 3 names. If you have a name that you really, really want to use, that is fine. But if you're not sure, come up with 3 names. These names can be anything. If you want to call your client Red Panda, by all means, call your client Red Panda. But if you want to give them a real name, that is also fine. If you want to give them an influencer name, that is cool. Whatever you want to do, that's fine. Now, you have the 3 names. Your client is either going to be a musician, a motivational speaker, or musician, motivational speaker, or somebody help me. Musician. Author. There you go. Your client is going to be an author, a motivational speaker, or a musician. I want you to write down 3 words that describe your client. If you can't have only 3, let's say you start with 10, 12, I want you to write it down regardless. And then when you start to email me information, we're going to start to work it down until you only have 3. Name of your client, pick a profession, 3 words that describe them. And then also give your client an A-type, B-type, C-type goal. A-type is a goal that they can see themselves achieving, right? This is easy for them to do. You just need to go ahead and do it. So if your client is an author, A-type goal would be finish 2 chapters by October. B-type goal, completely booked by the first quarter 2024. C-type goal will be something really big, right? So let's say there's an author that your client really likes. All right, so your client likes John Grisham, I think is his name. All right, depending on the type of books that he writes, or he or she writes, there may be someone that they really, really want to work with. So a C-type goal might be to collaborate with name of influence, collaborate with X person on a new book, or read a couple chapters for my client, or meet this other person that they're really, really interested in, meet them for dinner and discuss, you know what I mean? Like a dinner where they're able to ask questions that can help them grow as an author, right? That might be more of a C-type goal, because they know they have to come from being unknown to making enough noise that this individual will be like, yeah, I can have a conversation with you. I can have dinner with you, right? Those are your A-type, your B-type, your C-type goal. Everyone in our class is going to be a manager for a talent managing agency called, let me just stop here real quick, called Giant Hydra, right? Our company is called Giant Hydra. This is your first time having your own independent client. Before, you used to shadow other people, right? But now this is your first time having your own client. And what you're going to have to do is work with this individual until our event next year, June, called Leap 2024. All right, this is where our company brings all of our talent together and we put them on showcase, right? So they all have different booths, like think BMX, how that is in Barbados. But there's also a main stage. The main stage They may be interviewed by a guest speaker. They might be on a panel, all these kind of things. There is an opportunity for 3 persons in the class to be on the main stage at this event called LEAP 2024. All right, now LEAP doesn't really exist because our course only exists for 1 semester. But for your thinking, I want you to give yourself mentally room to grow with your client. So that's why we have next year in mind. All right, so on your screen, you see there's rustic, authentic, industrial. These are those 3 things that I mentioned, right? So whatever your client is into, your client is represented by these 3 words. Then, because you have those 3 words, you're now able to do a search of images that you can use to build your stylescape. So rustic, you're looking for rustic environments, rustic packaging, rustic letters, rustic photography, right? Rustic fabrics. Just like that, just so you have an idea of things that you can look for. But we're going to use the 3 words that you mentioned. So for my client, let's say it was bold, attention to detail, and I don't remember the last thing that I said. But anyway, bold, attention to detail, and something else. Then I will be trying to find ways like, how can I show that my client is bold, right? How can my client show that he or she is bold? Now that could be from the clothes that they wear. That could be from the way that they do the thing that they're known for. So if it's a musician, maybe bold in the song selections that goes with. Maybe my client sings a lot of Whitney as a man, right? That might be a bold choice. But yeah, you kind of get that idea. By the stylescape, you're going to pull images together to create a picture. Basically, when we put this together, when you look at your stylescape, you're supposed to be like, yep, this is definitely who my client is. All right, and Aliyah, I'm just going to show you real quick some example of some stylescapes. This is one for a fitness enthusiast. All right, it's not a ton of photos, but at least you get an idea. You know, she's most likely Caucasian. She likes working out. Does the back and rope thing. She probably likes hiking, into technology, right? Healthy eating, simplified workspace, whether this is at home or a space that she just uses, and she's probably from Chicago, right? All of those things are things that you can use to help you create a picture for who your client is. Now, another way to go, these are just other images that you can use, right? So this one uses shapes that have different treatments to it. Like this one has these dots, this one has these lines. Now, imagine if you were on the call earlier, when we spoke about contrast, when we spoke about repetition and all that. If you found something like this, then you might tell yourself, hey, when my musician is on stage, I like the feel of these things. So whether it may be the decoration, whether it's how they dress, whether it's the backup singers, whether it's the props, I like the idea of having polka dots, gold, solid lines. I like how these things work together, all right? So that's just another image that you could then use, and you could put that into your stylescape. This may give you a feeling, right? Because in stylescape, when we're looking at all these photos, we want to be able to get a picture of who your client is. Now tell me, what is your first impression of these 3 hands right here?
A band or count one. Like holding
Okay.
start 1, 2, 3, and then start.
Nice. I did not have that thought at all, but yeah, that's good. Anyone else?
Saw it as like a group of people, like first the main singer, the second singer, and then the third.
Okay, cool. All right, when I saw it, I got a weird feeling. Because they're like, the hands, they kind of feel kind of plasticky, kind of like a mannequin. So kind of got this weird feeling, and then they're this bluish, whitish kind of color. Yeah. So any feeling is all up to interpretation, you know? But if it makes sense to you when you're putting it together, then you could easily pull something like this together. All right, so like I mentioned, I'm going to be giving you guys a Canva file that you're going to be able to drop the photos in for your Stylescape. All right, so it's going to be set up like similar to this, where they are placeholders for photos, and you can just literally drag and drop them in. Right, these are some tips right here for how you can work with your Stylescape. Do not leave too much negative space. Negative space is just empty space on the frame, right? On the Stylescape itself. So if you're given, I don't know, 10 spaces to put photos, don't just put photos in 3 and then close the file. Right? I'm expecting you to at least try to fill it up, and you can fill it up in multiple ways with multiple things. All right, so illustrate the color palette somehow, right? Maybe with small circles or squares. So like this, you got these 4 circles right here. You could easily say, all right, this is my person, and I will put colors because these are colors that you're more likely to use a lot. Right now, if you think red and white, you're probably thinking digital. If you think purple and yellow, you're going to think Sept. Yeah, just the way that we've been thinking about those colors, they're linked to brands. Flow has to be blue. If you saw a green Flow ad, you might be wondering, like, wait a minute, are we going back to be mobile? I don't really understand what's happening here. All right. Use packaging. Packaging has some really interesting textures and feels. So don't be afraid to put some of that in, even though your client may not do anything with packaging right now. All right. Again, control the eye. Don't overcomplicate things. So if your client is here, right, you don't need to put something. Let's say they're wearing already a pattern shirt. You don't need to put any photo behind them, a really heavy pattern. You want to just control the eye, control what people are looking at, so it's not crazy, right? And the rest of this you guys can look at and go through on your phone. But essentially, that is what we will be doing between now and next week. Take a look at your client, give them a think, go through those questions that I asked you to do, and you guys should be good to go. Feel free to email me. Go ahead.
Right, I wanted to ask if you could explain what packaging is.
All right, let me do that. I'm gonna hop over to Pinterest just to give you a real life example. All right, So, packaging. All right, so packaging is just what stuff comes in, right? So we have something like this, which is just like a brown paper bag, but it has these green elements to it. That's gonna have a feeling of its own. And you have something like this, that's gonna have a different feeling. Right? But when you think about your client, this might give you some inspiration. Like, does this feel like the person that you're looking to represent? Or not? Right? Was that helpful?
Yes, thank you. I thought it was something different. Thank you.
All right, no problem. Yeah, Pinterest tends to have a lot of stuff, right? Let's say you're trying to figure out what they wear. You can always look for street style, street fashion. If you have a country in mind, you can include that in there. Right? So let's say your client is a musician and you got a certain vibe in mind. You're like, hey, my client probably dresses like this. Right? My client probably dresses like this. Then this would be something that you could just take and drop that into your folder, right? Before we look at a Stylescape, you might just save the pictures so that you have them. Let's see, the other website was FreePic. FreePic is a stock photography website. This is where you can get pictures of people, things, animals. So we can go African, American, female. Right? And then you could decide, hey, this person has hair that kind of feels like my client, but his shirt and clothing isn't quite right. You can still save anything that you want. What I like to do is make sure I check this box that says free. Otherwise, you're going to butt up on some premium content and you might not be able to use it at all. All right. All right, so for the first class, that was
Could you head over to Canva?
Canva. All right.
Yeah.
All right, Canva is free to use. You can either come to the website to get to it, or they also have an app. All right, so with Canva, you can upload stuff from your computer onto here, or you can use some of what they already have. And you can kind of do a search. However, you could easily butt up on some images that they would have like a crown icon on them, meaning that it's a pro image. So you want to be able to, you can use it, but it's going to have these lines on it. Right? So that can be a bit distracting. Whereas if you just click on this, that doesn't have a pro icon, you don't get those lines. dragging from the corners is going to allow you to make the image big or small at scale. But then you can also upload something. So let's say you went on Pinterest, you downloaded a bunch of images. You can then come here, click upload, then go to upload files. And this is just going to ask where on your computer do you want to get the image. So let's say this is the one we wanted to use. It's going to show up here on the left first. If you just click it, it's going to pop up pretty much in the middle of this page. Or you can click and drag it from there. Now, if I just saw that correctly, you are able to, because this photo already existed, you could upload something, and if you click and drag it from here, when it gets over another photo, you're able to just drop it in place. And if it didn't fit correctly, you can pull from the left or the right. All right, all good. It allows you to crop the image from just dragging from left to right.